Welcome back. Interpreting results from a poll. Newspapers frequently report the results of an opinion poll. In articles that give more information, a statement about the margin of error accompanies the poll results. In most polls, the margin of error is given for a 95% confidence level. General interpretation of poll results. When a poll states the results of a survey, the proportion reported to respond in the designated manner is p hat, the sample estimate of the population proportion. Margin of error is the maximal error E of a 95% confidence interval for P. A 95% confidence interval for the population proportion P is poll report p hat minus margin of error E less than P less than poll report p hat plus margin of error E. All right. So, what is p hat here? Okay. When a poll states the result of a survey, it's a survey. The proportion reported to respond in the designated manner, okay, is p hat. So it is from a survey. So p hat represents the proportion from that survey that you get, okay, proportion which respond in the designated manner means, so your success is response in the designated manner. All right. So now here is another topic. How do we find an appropriate sample size for estimating P? Suppose you want to specify the maximal margin of error in advance for a confidence interval for P at a given confidence level C. What sample size do you need? The answer depends whether or not you have a preliminary estimate for the population probability of success P in a binomial distribution. So whether or not you have a P. All right. So how to find the sample size N for estimating a proportion P? That N should be P times 1 minus P ZC over E squared. So E is given to you. All of this if you have a preliminary estimate for P. If you don't have a preliminary estimate for P, then you would go 1/4 ZC over E squared. E is the specified maximal error of estimate. ZC is the critical value from the normal distribution for the desired confidence level C. All right. If N is not a whole number, either of these calculations, increase N to the next higher whole number. So increase N to the next higher whole number. Also, if necessary, increase the sample size N to ensure that both NP is greater than 5 and NQ is greater than 5. So this is incomplete until you make sure these are both going to happen. All right. You want to make sure NP is greater than 5 and NQ is greater than 5. So know that N is the minimal sample size for a specified confidence level and maximal error of estimate. What does that mean? You can always take larger N. All right. It is the minimal sample size for a specified confidence level and maximal error of estimate. A company is in the business of selling wholesale popcorn to grocery stores. The company buys directly from farmers. A buyer for the company is examining a large amount of corn from a certain farmer. Before the purchase is made, the buyer wants to estimate P, the probability that a kernel will pop. A kernel will pop. Suppose a random sample of N kernels is taken and R of these kernels pop. The buyer wants to be 95% sure that the point estimate, that is R over N, for P will be in error either way by less than 0.01. If no preliminary study is made to estimate P, how large a sample should the buyer use? In this case, we use equation 22 with Z 0.95. You see, 95% confidence level. This is 1.96. This comes from our table 95% confidence level. ZC is 1.96. E is 0.01. So, there. That's the error, maximal allowed error. Using ZC and E, you have N because we don't have a preliminary estimate for P. Okay, you would need at least 9604. So we are using this formula, kernels. Now, preliminary study showed that P was approximately 0.86. In other words, now we are given a preliminary estimate for P. In this case, we are going to start with P approximately 0.86 and use the formula where you have a P. So that gets you a certain other number. The sample size should be at least 4,626. This sample is less than half the sample size necessary without preliminary study. Recall, without preliminary study, this was the minimum number of kernels we needed. If you had a preliminary P, then you have a fewer number of cases. Okay, so notice 25.29, right? So that has been increased to 4626, all right, because n has to be whole number. All right, so this completes section 8.3. Next videos will cover problems on section 8.3.